Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello, and welcome back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. I'm Rosetta, your host, and today I am so excited to bring you another incredible Black woman entrepreneur, Miss Angie Gray, and I am so excited to have her on the show because she is another woman who's a part of my inner circle, our Happy Black Woman Mastermind. This has really been an amazing few weeks of interviews where I've been sharing with you about what they're doing, their passion, their mission, their purpose, in hopes that it will inspire you to go after your own dreams, your entrepreneurial goals that you have. So welcome, Angie. So glad to have you here.
And I am so excited to be here, Rosetta. This has been an incredible journey as being a part of your mastermind tribe, and it has been a phenomenal experience for me. I'm continuing to learn so much each and every day. I am ecstatic about the work that I am doing because of the help and the support that I'm able to get from the Happy Black Woman tribe. So I am just thrilled to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity.
So glad that you are in our tribe and you've done so much work in your business. And of course, I know what has been going on with you since I work with you closely. But just to tell everybody else, what is your mission and what is the work that you do?
Yes, my mission is to empower as many women as I can to discover and activate their inner superpowers so that they can enjoy life and thrive as God intends for them to do. I do this through my public speaking and my teachings of various principles and so forth in e-courses. So this work that I do is designed to help change their lives through just being able to inspire them to work hard, to change the way that they do things so that they're working smarter rather than harder in terms of making changes and taking steps to live the wonderful life that God intends for them. I inspire them, I think, through just the fact that I have been through so many things of my own. So I come from a very authentic place, and I love to talk to people from a real talk perspective about real issues and to help them to discover real solutions and strategies that are available to them. And I love what I do.
Yes, I know that you do. And I know when you came in the program, you were already doing this work and it's just a matter of taking it to the next level. So tell us just a little bit more about your story. Like, what's your why behind this work? Like, what is it that you've experienced that led you to have this passion and then turn it into a business?
Yes, well, I believe it comes from the work that I've done in various fields. I've actually done some social work and some counseling and also in an educational field. So between the social work field, the mental health, and the education, I've kind of combined them all in a way that makes sense to me and feels good to me. It allows me to teach because that is really a big part of my passion. And it allows me to help others because of the fact that I'm able to help move them forward. Counseling has been very interesting for me for children, but as I have begun to work closely with women at my church as the women's ministry leader, I have really come into contact with women of all different walks of life who are really struggling with many of the same things. Their self-esteem has been shattered by something. They have been disappointed by something. Just things that have gotten in the way. We call that when life gets in the way. And life has gotten in the way of them being able to be who they really wanted to be and do the things that they really wanted to do. And I want to help them wake up from that and find themselves and discover that they have everything that they need. It's just a matter of them taking time out to tap into it. and being able to just grow and get to know themselves first so that they are able to just blossom and flourish and just be the person that God intends for them to be. A lot of this came from working in the church as a ministry leader. As I said, I created a Bible study for women and got a chance to really get close to women and find out what was going on with them. And that came following a very tragic experience that I had in my workplace. And as I mentioned earlier, I work in the academic field as a school counselor. And one of my students, I had a 14-year-old student shoot and kill a 13-year-old student, both of which were my students.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a horrendous experience for me. But what I have learned is what I have learned in life, that, all things work together for the good. And in Romans 8:28, that's one of my favorite scriptures. It just says that all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and who have been called according to his purpose. And what came out of that experience for me was an incredible thing, because what happened is I had to cancel some ministry events that I had set up because I had to respond to this crisis. And when I was telling the women, what I was going through and the fact that I wouldn't be able to be present for some events that we had set up and things like that, it opened the doors, the floodgates to them starting to share with me tragic things that had happened in their lives that I never knew about. I had known these women for years, but never knew about their tragedies and their stumbling blocks and those things that were holding them back. And when we started conversating about that, that's when my purpose was brought to the forefront, where it was loud and clear for me. That's where God made it very clear to me that my purpose was to help women move past their past so that they can do what they have been called to do. And I believe that God just intends for us to have a John 10:10 life of fullness and abundance. And that's what I work really hard to help women find, that lifestyle for themselves.
Wow, one of the things I love about you, Angie, is that you are so present to the voice of spirit speaking to you. And, a lot of people struggle with finding their purpose, discovering their purpose, figuring out what it is. And a lot of people are listening and like, well, I don't know my purpose. But when you listen and you pay attention to what's happening, your purpose is right in front of you. And for you to be able to see that within your role at your church was incredible. And to have that connection with the women that you wanted to help, such a beautiful story that you share with us. I love it.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, we did a lot of work on that in that Bible study group that I spoke of. We called it Pearls for Life. And in that, we began to look at our spiritual gifts and talents, our purpose and our passion. And that's really what opened my eyes to my own purpose and passion. And I realized that this was something that many of us were struggling with, no matter what our backgrounds were, no matter where we were on our spiritual walk, no matter what our careers were. We were all kind of struggling with the same thing. And once I realized that, it became so clear to me. And now it's what I just strive for. I work with girls, young adult girls and pre-adolescent girls, and working with them has been quite an experience for me. But from that experience, that traumatic experience that I spoke of earlier, I got a chance to meet their parents and meet their mothers, and found out that their mothers were really the source of the problem. The problems that the girls were having were that their mothers were broken, and they just really needed someone to help them get over that hump. And that's what I have been so wonderfully blessed with being able to do. God has really directed me in that way, and I'm just excited that I can be a blessing to others. I've been blessed, and I can bless others through my blessing, and it's just a fabulous thing. I'm just so excited about it. And a funny story happened when there was a girls conference that was going on, a women and girls mother and daughter conference that was going on. And they had a last minute cancellation, and the lady who was putting it together contacted me, and it was less than a week before the conference, and she asked me if I could step in and be a presenter. And then she gave me the topic of suicide. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I can't do suicide. But then I realized how important this topic was. And then from that topic, when I did the presentation, I got such a wonderful feedback. People were telling me that I was a gifted speaker and that the presentation was awesome. And one of the evaluations that I read said, not only was your presentation awesome, it should be patented and presented across the nation. Well, I was absolutely thrilled. I couldn't believe that people had such a reaction to such a tough subject. And it just allowed me to know that I was truly at that point walking in my purpose and being able to empower girls and women and getting them to talk with one another and being able to get them to see the importance of just dealing with issues when they come up rather than stuffing them. So that has become one of my signature speeches that I do, and that's on the topic of 1,000,000 reasons to live. And it has been truly a blessing to many girls and women. And that has led me to know that there are many awkward topics that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, that if we were to get someone to actually talk on them and get people inspired to talk and have real talk about real issues, that they could be inspired to do some wonderful things, that they could be inspired to get help and to do what they have to do. And that's what my mission is now.
I love it. Such a beautiful journey that you've taken, and just always being cognizant of the reaction that people have to you, because a lot of times when people say, oh, you're great at this or you're great at that, or you should, do this or that, a lot of us don't take that chance because we don't believe in ourselves enough to even say, well, yeah, I'll speak. Because you could have said, well, no, I don't feel like I'm ready or qualified or prepared or whatever. But you kept saying yes, and it's led you down this amazing journey where now you get to help other women within your business. So can you say a little bit about that decision to turn this purpose, this calling, these gifts that you have into an actual business?
Yes, I think what I can say about that is I was getting called to do it so much, and I was doing it and finding great success with it. And I thought, well, this is something that obviously is my gift and obviously is meeting the needs of my purpose and my mission. So I should be really using this to live the life that I keep telling people that they can have. And I wasn't doing that for myself. It just didn't make any sense. I was out of alignment and incongruent. So I really began to look at the whole package of a woman, from mind, body, soul, and spirit, and realizing that all of these things are interconnected, and there are so many people that are able to deal with one of those issues, but they don't do a real nice job necessarily of pulling all of those issues together as a single package. And that's what I really thought was my calling, was to really look at the whole woman from a holistic point of view, and to look at wellness in a different way so that women understand that we are 4 different people all encapsulated in one person. And I say that meaning that we have needs that we have to meet that are emotional needs. We have to meet our physical needs. We have to meet our mental needs, our social needs, our recreational needs. And they all fall under this umbrella of those 4 domains. And as I have done this freely for quite some time and gotten many accolades and gotten so many people to depend on me, I found that it was kind of drawing away from my family. And I decided that the best way for me to take care of my family is to do what I love in a way that I can become compensated for it, so that my time is being spent not being broken into 2 different places, being broken at work on a 9 to 5, and then being broken into other pieces among my family, and then also then dealing with the women that were coming to me and looking for my help and my assistance in doing these presentations and these speeches that took a lot of time and energy to prepare, it only made sense that I should begin to look at ways to make a profit from that, so that I would be able to get rid of my 9 to 5 and be able to focus on doing what I do well and being able to take care of the women that are looking to me for assistance and looking to me for support, so that I am not fragmented. So that now my 9 to 5, quote unquote, can now be my business, and I can do it the way that I want to do it. And I can be location independent. I can be able to travel with my family and be able to do the things that I want to do. Because when we are all focused on work and unable to take care of ourselves, and that's that holistic approach that I was just speaking about. When you can't do what's good for you, when you can't follow self-care, and you can't do what you have told others that they should be doing, that's problematic. And it's just been such a revelation for me, and an epiphany, if you will, that has said to me, listen, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk that you are giving everyone else. You can't just do that second part. You can't just talk the talk, but you have to also walk the walk, which is how I came into contact with you, because I realized that, I want to be a dynamic speaker. I want to be able to move throughout the world and speak just like you do and be able to be that blessing that I talked about. So it just made sense for me to reach out to someone who was doing exactly what I was doing. And that's what I wanted to do for a living rather than for recreation.
Yeah.
So that's why I reached out to you, and I have grown tremendously. And now I recognize that it can be a reality.
Yes.
That life that I talk about, that John 10:10 life, is real. If I want it to be real. Of course, I have to work for it.
Right.
But when we ask God to order our steps and direct our paths, sometimes what he does is put people like you in the lives of those like me who want to do. We just don't know how to do.
Exactly.
But it has been, like I said, a tremendous learning experience for me, and I am following the ordered steps that you have given to me, and it is paying off great dividends. And I'm so excited about the work that's being done in my life so that I can bless others.
Yes, definitely. I love that you shared about that part of your journey, because a lot of people, a lot of women listening, they know that they have a gift, and other people have told them that they have a gift, and yet they're still committed to staying in a career or a job that does not allow them to use those gifts. And so maybe they get to use them occasionally, but I love what you said about walking the talk and all of that, because as you were talking, because of the spiritual aspect of your work, the phrase that came to mind was, really all you're doing is practicing what you preach. You're practicing what you preach.
I love that.
Because that's what, people expect. Those of us who go to church and all that, I grew up in Black church, and it was always, you expect the people who are teaching you to have some direct experience with what they're saying, and that it's not do as I say, not as I do kind of thing, that you look up to them as mentors and role models and everything. And so it really is out of alignment and incongruent when we're preaching something to people and then we're doing the total opposite, or we're telling people that, hey, you can do whatever you want, and with God all things are possible, but at the same time your life shows that you don't believe that. Your life shows that you don't think all things are possible, because you're still in a job that doesn't treat you right, in a relationship that don't treat you right, your kids are running all over the place. All these things are expressions of the actions that you're taking. So I love that you kind of took this on, because a lot of people are not willing to take that on. They're just like, yeah, I could just motivate people. But at the same time, what about the life that you're living? So it just shows the kind of person that you are, definitely. And I know a lot of people can feel that when someone's authentic, when they're real. And I think that's why so many people follow you, because they can feel that from you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for commenting on that, Rosetta, because that is such the truth. I'll tell you, the Holy Spirit just wouldn't let me sleep. He wouldn't leave me alone as I kept having these revelations and these epiphanies that said, listen, you have to do it. But you first must prepare so that you can do it the way that you would want someone to follow you and do what you want them to do so that they can be happy, they can find their peace, their joy, their abundance. So what I'm doing with you is what I want to show others to do. But like you said, you have to be able to know what that experience feels like and know what's entailed in that experience before you can ask someone else to do it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you are asking people to invest with you and coach with you and be their mentor, but you've never had a coach or a mentor, it definitely dampens the experience that you can provide for someone else. Also, what I love about your work is that you've broken it down step by step, and I know you have a process, and I thought maybe you could share a little bit about how our ladies can get started with really improving their life, their faith as they're walking their path. I know you said everyone's in a different stage in their spiritual journey and in the process of finding their purpose and their passion, but what are just some quick steps that you've outlined that you can share with us here today?
Yes, I think the biggest thing that is important for women is to really sit down and spend some quality time by themselves. I like to call this their time out. Put themselves in time out. And that's giving themselves a daily amount of time, a block of time where they can read the word, where they can meditate on the word, where they can journal. Journaling is a phenomenal tool that I have used for many years, and it just really does some excellent work within us when we're able to put something down on paper. And this is a spiritual principle as well. You can find it in Habakkuk. The book of Habakkuk talks about write it down and make it plain. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about journaling. Finding that quiet time and that quiet space is about meditation, because a lot of times we have so much noise in our heads from our husbands and our spouses and our kids and our bosses and just the general everyday life problems that we encounter cause a lot of noise in our heads. And when we're able to quiet that noise through meditation, we're able to really hear what God has to say to us. And we can't do that as we're just moving around the speed of the day. So what I'd like people to do when they're looking to really grow spiritually is to look at 7 interconnected principles. All of these 7 principles are connected. They're separate, but they're all connected and they all work together. And I have what's called the Folgers method, if you will, for spiritual growth. And that involves an acronym for Folgers. And I say that because in the Bible, we speak about our cup runneth over with the goodness of God. And it will run over with the goodness of God if we're willing to do some work in 7 key areas. And I believe those 7 key areas are faith, obedience, love, gratitude, edification, relationships, and service. And if you look at the beginning letter for each of those words, they create the acronym Folgers. And you may be reminded about the commercials from back in the day about the best part of the day is waking up to a good cup of coffee with Folgers in it. And that is what I believe are very key steps for us as women if we incorporate learning about each of those areas in our daily walk. If we do that, I believe that we will begin to really make a difference in being able to be happy and live that full life and that life of abundance that we speak of. And that can be done by looking at 7 different principles. And those are those 7 principles I just outlined for you.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love the acronym Folgers. That's makes it easy to remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious about your practices. I know you mentioned a few of them, journaling, meditation, but what would be like some of the top things that you do? Because now that you've turned this into a business, you've got still the responsibilities of normal life, like we all do, and you've got family and everything. So what do you do to stay focused and productive and in alignment as you walk your path?
I think the biggest thing that I do has been to establish routines. I have a very specific morning routine and very specific evening routine. And having those routines actually make life so much easier. So I'm able to get really connected with what I'm going to do for the day when I can sit down in the morning and figure out, make a list of things that I need to do. I do that list usually at night, the night before, and then in the morning I look at it again after I've had some sleep and rest so that I can figure out, okay, I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable with what I have to do and how I'm going to do it. I incorporate a big part of self-care that I had been leaving out, and that was just not exercising. So now I exercise. I do a 10-minute workout, and I do it for just 10 minutes because I do three 10-minute workouts throughout the day. I do one in the morning when I get up, I do one at lunchtime, and I do one in the evening. And that just feels so much better to me than doing 30 minutes at a time. It actually makes it easier for me to make sure that I'm getting 30 minutes in a day. Whereas if I were doing them at 30 minutes at a time, I would say that I would only do that maybe 3 times a week.
Mm.
This way, I'm getting it in every single day, 3 times a day, and it really works well. And it helps me to refresh myself at work. And I have been really looking at just establishing little changes like that because small changes add up. And those are some of the things that I do. So then, as I mentioned before, I incorporate prayer. I start every morning with prayer. And I close every night with prayer. And of course, I pray throughout the day, but I do meditations in the morning and at night so that I'm able to just get my mind right for the task that's in front of me. So meditation in the morning helps me to wake up and prepare for the day. Meditation at night helps me to slow it down and calm it down and prepare for the evening. So I'm just able to just focus on the task that is in front of me and close down and shut down some of that distraction and some of that noise that we encounter just in everyday life. So I believe that establishing whatever works for people in their morning routine and their evening routine will make a huge difference in their lives. And it's little small things that can be done in just a few minutes. You can journal in 5 minutes. You can pray in 10 minutes. You can meditate in 5 or 10 minutes. So when you look at the whole big picture of establishing a routine, you can create a routine that's less than an hour that will change the way you function in every facet and aspect of your life. And it just makes a huge difference. And I have to say, I have become a much better person now that I'm not moving around in chaos and the craziness of trying to figure out where my shoe is and trying to figure out where my purse is that I want to carry that day. So I get that stuff all done and set up the night before. And this is a biggie for me that I never did before until I started studying the 7 habits of Stephen Covey. And that was to really sit down Sunday evening and plan out my entire week so that I can see that in writing. And then I can take each one of those days as they come and really fill in the blanks. But just having that broad schedule and that broad plan just makes it so much easier to function. And being able to, I do it as a family now. We all come together on Sunday evenings and we plug in our calendar, our family calendar, who's doing what, when, and where, so that it's just so easy to see it, because it makes a difference when it's not in your head. Because when we carry things in our head, very often we forget and we're late and we just overlook it. So that's a biggie for me.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned having a night routine in addition to a morning routine, which I think a lot of people don't think about. And for a long time, I was just trying to make sure I got enough sleep. And so, of course, now I get more sleep, but it's like, okay, now I need to also make sure I do the things I need to do in the evening. And you're right, it is a routine. It is a practice that you have to do every day so that you can see the results of it. And it sounds like there's so many. I mean, obviously being more productive, getting more things done, but also being calmer and having that spiritual connection that a lot of us are missing because we just allow ourselves to get so busy with other things.
Absolutely. That's wonderful, Rosetta. You have a real keen understanding of that.
Well, I love how you break it down. I mean, so many women are listening and they are just like you. They have families, they have jobs, they have volunteer, they have different ministries that they're a part of. And just what you've shared in terms of your routine, like modeling that, you guys can take that just from this podcast and really make a huge shift in your life. So I appreciate you sharing what you do, because obviously if you didn't practice it, you wouldn't be able to preach it. So I love that it benefits everybody when you do that. I know we're coming close to our time, so I want to make sure that I get one more nugget from you, and that is looking back over your journey. I know that you mentioned a couple of resources that have helped you, but is there a book that you have read or a book that you go back to over and over again that really helps you continue to move forward, even despite, not knowing, where this whole journey is going, but, just keeps you inspired? Is there any book that you have read or continue to go back to like that?
Absolutely. Valerie Burton's Successful Women Think Differently. She deals with 9 habits that make you happier, healthier, and resilient. And I tell you, that book has truly been a blessing to me. I'm a strong proponent of having people establish small steps and small habits because they're more sustainable. We're able to keep up with little things much easier than we are with the big things.
Yeah.
But those small things turn into big things. So if we can just get into the habit of dealing with small, palatable bites, those little small bites, little small steps, we then begin to see a huge difference in our lives. And Valerie Burton does a wonderful job of outlining that for us.
Yeah, what a great book recommendation. Many of you may know that Valerie was also a guest on the show, and so you may want to go back and listen to her episode. But I tell you, we're in such good company. Either we're interviewing the person or their book is being recommended. I just love how it all comes full circle every time. So thank you for that recommendation. And so I know that a lot of ladies are listening and they are just really enjoying what you've been sharing and hearing about your journey. So can you tell us how we can stay in touch with you, how our listeners can continue to learn from you? Where can we go to do that?
You can go to my website, which is blessedblackwoman.com. And at that website, my contact page is there. And I just ask that you complete the contact page, and I will be very happy to get back to you in whichever method you choose, whether it be email or I am also on Facebook. I am also able to actually speak to you on the telephone. So anyone that wants to reach me can certainly find me by going to blessedblackwoman.com, and we will make it happen.
Wonderful. I love it. And I love the name of your website, blessedblackwoman.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time, Angie, for being on the show. I really appreciate you sharing so generously your wisdom with us.
And I thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I pray that my blessing turns into someone else's blessing.
Yes, definitely. All right. Thank you. And thank you guys for listening. If you have not listened to our previous episodes, you are missing out. Angie is just one of our incredible guests that we've had on the show, just really pouring into you for free their knowledge, their wisdom, their resources, their strategies. And you can go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com and look at all of our previous episodes and get notified whenever we do new ones. All right, ladies, have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free Life Mapping Workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.